Hey everybody, it's Emily Dark Schooling, and it's time to have a book haul because I bought a lot of books. In my defense, this is the March and April book haul. March was my birthday month, and in April we had Independent Bookstore Day. That doesn't explain all of it, but that explains some of the excess here. I think at my tally, assuming I actually have everything here, it was like 42 books total that I bought in March and April, which is kind of a lot. But you know, it's fine. I set this up in like piles that make sense to my brain. I don't know, I try to organize it. We'll see how this goes. So let's just get into it, shall we? I have the first two books I'm going to talk about are things I bought for Build Your Library Level 11 Update, because I was looking for books about the history of the English language. That is one of the electives that's included in Level 11. And I found two books. I don't know if they're both going to end up in the level, but this one is. And that is Says Who, A Kinder, Funner Usage Guide for Everyone Who Cares About Words by Ann Curzan, PhD. And what I like about this is that she explores the idea that language evolves. Like, we're always adding new words to our language, and just like we do with words, so we do with grammar. So grammar evolves and changes over time, and that maybe we should loosen up a bit when it comes to being like obsessed with grammar and that sort of thing. So it's a really interesting book. I'm only a few chapters in, but I'm really liking it. I love the writing style. I find it very readable, and I think it would work really well in the level. And the other one I bought is Like Literally Dude, Arguing for the Good in Bad English. It's kind of similar. I haven't even read through this yet, so I don't, if they feel too similar, I probably won't use this in the level, but I still want to read it because it just sounds interesting, because I've always loved like stuff like this. I love learning about words and like how language evolves and changes, and so this talks a lot about like slang and how we use language in a less proper way and that kind of thing. So it sounded really interesting. I have a lot of middle grade. Some of it I bought, but most of this was sent to me by, oh my gosh, I can't drag it towards me, was sent to me by HarperCollins. So when I was sent it, I'll let you know. So first up, I have Puzzled by Pan Cook. This is a graphic novel, middle grade memoir, which is why I wanted it. I was very excited about this. This is a book about growing up with OCD, and it's the author like talking about their childhood and how OCD affected their life, and like how they discovered they had it and learned how to control it. I just thought this was really well done. I've already read it. It was really good. Highly recommend if you are looking for something about OCD or wanting to explain that to a child. I think this is a great introduction to that. So I would recommend that. I bought a copy of Wild Oak by C.C. Harrington because I wrote a lit bite. I actually borrowed it from the library first to read it, and I really enjoyed it enough that I wanted to own a copy. So now I have it on my shelf. This is a middle grade story about a girl who has a stutter, like a pretty severe stutter, and it's set in the 1960s, and her family and the school are very unhelpful, and they're talking about sending her away to go to some horrible boarding school that she's heard terrible things happen there. And so she's trying to convince her parents that she shouldn't be sent there, and so her mother lets her go live with her grandfather for a few weeks. And so the story is following her while she's on this journey to like find her voice and try to figure out how to better communicate. She also loves animals and can talk to animals without a stutter. And so while she's with her grandfather, she meets this strange animal in the woods, which is a snow leopard that was like captured and made to be a pet and then set free in the woods. And so she's helping this snow leopard, and the snow leopard is helping her, and it's just a really good story. This feels like classic children's lit, like along the same lines as things like A Little Princess and The Secret Garden, things like that. So if you like that kind of a story, I feel like this feels like that, even though it's written very recently. So definitely recommend that. I was very excited to get a copy of The Night War in the mail. I pre-ordered this. This is the newest from Kimberly Brubaker Bradley. I've been anticipating it for ages. Haven't had a chance to read it yet though, which is bothering me. I need to read this. This is a story about World War II, and we're following a Jewish girl living in France, I believe. She was sent away to go and live in a monastery in hiding, and she doesn't know what's happened to her family, and she's very understandably upset about what might have happened to them and wanting to go out and find them. And I think there's a magical element involved, but I'm not really sure what that is because I haven't read it yet. So, but I'm really looking forward to it. I love Kimberly Brubaker Bradley's writing. It's so good. And I just I feel like this is going to be a favorite. I also bought On All Other Nights. This is Passover Celebration in 14 Stories. Last year, I think, I read Once Upon an Eid, and that was a bunch of different Muslim authors writing about the Eid celebration. And so this is really similar to that. So if you liked Once Upon an Eid, you'll probably like this too, because this is also a collection of different authors writing stories based around Passover. And I haven't read it yet, but I think, yeah, each story is focused on one of the elements of the Passover Seder. So if you're not familiar with what a Seder is, I do think that it gets explained in here a little bit. Talks about what each of the things are. So the first step of the Seder is the Kaddish. It's a short prayer recited over a cup of wine or grape juice, and then it goes on to have a story about something to do with Passover. So I don't know. I'm really excited about it. Did I get a chance to read it in April like I'd hoped? No. But I'm still planning on reading this soon. And I think everything else in the middle grade pile I have here was sent to me by HarperCollins. So thank you very much to them for this lovely stack of things. So I'm just going to run through some of them quick. This one, I don't know what this is. This is Wow in the World, What in the Wow 2, 250 more bonker balls facts. This is one of those books of just weird and wonderful facts and things. Very colorful, very fun. I feel like this is a bathroom book. It's probably how I'm going to use it, and just leave it laying around for people to peruse. I have 2 graphic novels. I have Wires Crossed. This is by Beth Fantasky. Yeah, this is about a friend group that's kind of breaking apart, and they're finding new friends that are more in line with their interests, and learning how to get along with different people. I think this also has to do with STEM in some way. Not explaining that well, I'm sorry, but I have not read it yet. Then I have A for Effort. This is by Jared Green, and this is all about the transition from middle school to high school and what that's like for this one kid. And so I would say that's an upper middle grade story. Then I have The World Divided by Piper by Kayla Carter, and I am obsessed with this cover. This is just so inviting and colorful. I just love that. Okay, and this one is 11-year-old Piper has big plans. First, she'll win the academic decathlon with her best friend Tallulah. Then she'll finish her life's work, metaphorical math. And in the meantime, she and Tallulah will maintain their secret. El Jardín Muerto. Nothing can stop Piper. Nothing except for puberty. So this sounds really cute. Then I have Kira Just for Today by Sarah Czar, which is also just a really nice cover. I love the muted colors. Very beachy. This one says, Kira has always felt like she's a bit too much. Too tall, too loud, too earnest, but she's okay with that because she's got her mom. Ever since Mom got sober about 5 years ago, she and Kira have always been there for each other, something Kira is thankful for every week when she attends her group meetings with the other kids of alcoholics. When Mom is managing her cleaning business and Kira is taking care of things at home, maybe she thinks she's not too much. Maybe she's just enough. So, sounds like it's going to be one of those hard-hitting middle grade stories that I end up loving. So we're following a protagonist with a mother who is an alcoholic, and I think her mother is going to start slipping back into drinking and like what happens because of that. Then I have A Little Bit Super with Small Powers Come Big Problems. This is a collection of short stories by a variety of middle grade authors, and the idea here is each story is about somebody who has a minor, like a really minor superpower. And we're talking minor, like you can shapeshift but only one part of your body, and only on Mondays. And you can always know when an avocado is perfectly ripe, which honestly, that's useful. I wouldn't mind that. You could hear the thoughts of animals in the pet store. So like, it sounds really cute. I love things like this. So I feel like this is going to be really fun. And then this one I was really excited about. I haven't had a chance to read through it yet, but I want to. And that is Made in Asian America, A History for Young People. I'm always looking for things like this. This is by Erica Lee and Christina Suntervant, who I just love her books. So I feel like this is going to be excellent. This is, like it says, it's a history of America through the lens of Asian Americans. So it starts with who actually came to America first, and it talks about the Asians in New Spain and that sort of thing. And it goes through modern day, and like I think this is going to be excellent. It would be a great tie-in to any middle grade level American history curriculum. Okay, let's move on to things I pre-ordered that weren't middle grade. Starting off with Cantica. This is not actually new this year. I think this came out in last year, but I was able to pre-order the paperback. This is by Elizabeth Graver, and this is a historical fiction, like generational drama. And it's following one family's displacement across 4 countries. It is about a Sephardic Jewish family, and I just love things like this. I mean, I love reading stories about Jews in different parts of the diaspora, but I also really enjoy stories just about like families, like intergenerational stories where you get to see like a family's history over several generations. I just love that. So I feel like this could be potentially really great. I got the last book in the, like, what is it even called? What is the name of this series? In Every Generation? I'm not sure, but this is Kendar Blake's Buffy series. The third book and final part of the trilogy is Against the Darkness, and I am obsessed with this series. I read the first 2 books and loved them so much, and I've been dying to get into this. I'm not going to tell you like what this is specifically, so I don't spoil anything, but the idea of the series is that we are like 15 years after the end of season 7. We're following Willow's daughter, Frankie, who wakes up one morning and she finds out she's been called to be the next Slayer. And so we're following like her experiences, figuring out her powers, and she is so like such a Willow-like character. She's Willow's daughter. So like you can imagine like what if Willow had been the Slayer? It's kind of similar. We've got some characters returning. We have Willow, obviously, but we also have Oz, because Frankie's best friend is Oz's nephew. And so we also have Spike, and he is her watcher, and I love this series so much. So I'm excited to get to this sooner than later. Like I need to know how this ends. I bought Where Sleeping Girls Lie, and I'm not going to pronounce this name right. I'm sorry. It's by Farida Abike Igamide, I think. So I read Ace of Spades when it came out. I don't know if that was last year or the year before, and I liked that a lot. So I've been keeping an eye out for when they wrote something else, and when I saw this coming out and that it was dark academia again, I needed it. I don't even know what this is about. Besides that, we're following somebody at some like prestigious boarding school. They're attending now after being homeschooled. weird things are happening. I'm doing a terrible job explaining this book, but I have not read it yet, and I don't know the full synopsis because I don't like doing that. I don't like reading the synopsis before I read the book, so I don't know what this is about, but it sounds interesting. It's dark academia, so I'm already interested in that. That it's set at a boarding school, which is also something I always enjoy reading. So like, I'm pretty sure this is going to be really good. I bought The Black Girl Survives in this one. It's a collection of short horror stories where the black girl survives. That's all you really need to know, honestly. That's all I needed to know. So I've actually bought this for my daughter because my youngest is getting really into horror and she's always asking for things. And so I thought this might be something fun for her to explore some new authors and read some stories with a diverse cast of characters. And especially when the black girl, it gets to be the final girl. So sounds like it'll be fun. Let me see if I can tell you who some of the writers are. Oh, we've got like a story from, it's got a foreword by Tanana Reeve-Dew. And there's a story from L.L. McKinney. Justina Ireland has a story in here. Brittany Morris. Who else? Those are the only authors that are jumping out at me as authors I know. So there's a whole bunch of new authors in here to explore. I have Leigh Bardugo's newest book, The Familiar, that I am super excited to read. This is a like historical fantasy, I think, and all I know is it's historical fantasy. It's set in the Spanish like Golden Age, I think, and it's following a Sephardic Jewish character. That's all I know. And but that's like all I need, honestly. Also, it's got sprayed edges, which I did not realize. So that's very exciting when that happens. And it's a very pretty cover. Like, I'm very into the aesthetic of this book. And then I think this is the last pre-order I have. Yes. And this is ADHD is Awesome, A Guide to Mostly Thriving with ADHD by Penn and Kim Holderness. I love them. I love the Holderness family. I've been following them for years online, so when I heard about this book, I immediately pre-ordered it. And I got this literally yesterday, and the first thing I said is, ooh, the colors. It's very colorful. Like, I don't know if the lighting is not working in my favor here, but you can't really see how colorful the pages are, but like, it's pretty. There's pictures. So I have the attention of a squirrel. I'm sorry. This is exactly what it sounds like. It's written by both of them. Penn has ADHD and Kim does not, so it goes back and forth between them, like him talking about his experiences and her weighing in as being a person without ADHD who is living with somebody with it and like giving advice from that perspective. So I'm looking forward to reading this. These are just things that I bought. There may have been a pre-order in here. I don't remember if I pre-ordered that or if I bought that. We'll just go through them, shall we? I have Little Eve by Catriona Ward. I've been wanting to read something else by this author. What did I read? Did I read Sundial? Yes. I read Sundial a year or two ago and really enjoyed it. And I've been wanting to read something else ever since, and I just haven't gotten to it. So when I saw this at the bookstore, I bought it. This is a cult story, I think. And it's historical and it's gothic. Those three things really are all I need to know going in, but it says New Year's Eve, 1921, on the wind-battered Isle of Altnahara, off the wildest coast of Scotland. A clan prepares to bring about the end of the world and its imminent rebirth. So it says it's a heart-pounding tale of faith and family with a devastating twist. I'm very excited to pick this up. I bought A Mystery of Mysteries, The Death and Life of Edgar Allan Poe by Mark Dawidziak, and this is nonfiction about Edgar Allan Poe's last days. Big Poe fan. When I saw this cover, I was immediately drawn to it. I wanted to read it, and it was also one of their, like, you buy one, you get one half off, and which I need to figure out how to get the sticker off without ruining the book. But it sounds really interesting, and there's birds on the pages inside, you know, There are pictures. It sounds like a good time. And the other book I got that to get the 50% off was The Changeling by Victor Laval. I read Lone Women at the beginning of the year and absolutely loved it and wanted to read something else by this author. So I picked this up at the bookstore. I don't know what this is besides the obvious. It has to do with a changeling. When Apollo Kagwa's father disappeared, he left his son a box of books and strange reoccurring dreams. Now Apollo is a father himself, and as he and his wife Emma settle into their new lives as parents, exhaustion and anxiety start to take their toll. Apollo's old dreams return, and Emma begins acting odd. At first, Emma seems to be exhibiting signs of postpartum depression, but before Apollo can do anything to help, Emma commits a horrific act and vanishes, and thus begins Apollo's quest to find a wife and child who are nothing like he'd imagined. His odyssey takes him to a forgotten island, a graveyard full of secrets, a forest where immigrant legends still live, and finally back to a place he thought he had lost forever. I'm hoping this is just as good as Lone Women, which was a very cinematic read. I love when a book feels like a movie. Like I can feel like I'm watching it, and I feel like his writing really does that. So I'm hoping this is the same. I bought a copy of We Were the Lucky Ones by Georgia Hunter. I already read this. I listened to the audiobook, and I think I also was back and forth between the audiobook and the ebook, and I just wanted this on my shelves. I loved it so much. This is a story about one family's experiences during World War II and how they were able to survive. It's beautiful and sad and just fascinating because it spans such a wide swath of place. Because usually when you read a story about somebody's life set during World War II, you're focused in on one spot, it's set in Poland or it's set in Germany. This book is set in several places in Poland, yes, but it's also set in Siberia. It's also set in Uzbekistan. It's also set in France and in South America. So you're getting to see so many different places and what was happening in each place during the war, which I just thought was fascinating. I don't think I've ever read anything quite like that. The fact that this was an actual family history and all of the people in the story are real and this is the legacy of their family. Fascinating, beautiful. I loved it so much. I've been watching the TV show. I think the last episode airs this week and I'm both excited and sad to be done with it. And so I'm looking forward to that. But I highly recommend, if you only ever read one or two books on World War II, I think this should be one of them. I have Song of the Huntress by Lucy Holland, and I feel like I pre-ordered this, but now I can't remember if I pre-ordered it or bought it at the bookstore. We'll never know. This is a mythology retelling about the Great Hunt, I think. It's set in Britain in 60 CE, and it says, the Wild Hunt. It says, one of the most powerful new voices in myth retelling transforms the story of Herla and the Wild Hunt into a rich feminist fantasy. I am a sucker for mythology retellings. It's all if you tell me it's a mythology retelling, I will absolutely want to read it. And the fact that this is one that I hadn't seen before, I'm always excited to find mythology retellings that aren't Greek. So I'm looking forward to this quite a lot. Maybe it will even be a book club selection at some point. I don't know yet, but I feel like this is something we would all want to read together. I bought Independence by Chitra Banerjee Divakaruni. What did I read? I forget the name of it. I read another book they wrote. I read The Palace of Illusions by this author for level 10, I think? I cannot recall. I think it's level 10. And I really loved that when I read it. And so I've been wanting to read something else by them. And I also needed a book set in India, preferably more modern history. So when I saw this, it was exactly what I was looking for. And I'm hoping it's just as good as The Palace of Illusions. This is about when India gained their independence from the British Empire. And what happened in that tumultuous time, and I'm very excited to read it. I've only ever read middle grade set in that period, so I'm excited to read something for adults about that time period. And I have a feeling that this is going to be great. So I'm looking forward to picking this up sooner than later. And then I bought All Our Yesterdays, a novel of Lady Macbeth by Joel H. Morris. I had been wanting to get this for a little bit. This is a new release. It came out, I think, in either February or March. I don't remember. And so I've been wanting to get it, and I picked it up as one of my birthday presents. Rob took me book shopping for my birthday, and this was one of the books I bought. And I am very excited to read this at some point soon, I hope. I love Macbeth. It's one of my favorite Shakespeare plays. I love the just absolute drama of it all. Any story following Lady Macbeth gets my attention. So I'm looking forward to reading this. I don't really know. I think this is just basically a history of Lady Macbeth. Like, who was she? How did she get to where we find her in Macbeth, and why did she do what she did? I went shopping for Independent Bookstore Day, and I already talked about all of these in my Independent Bookstore Day video. So if you want to go check that out, you can. I'm not going to go into great detail here, though, because I already did that in that video. But I bought This Wretched Valley by Jenny Kiefer, and this is wilderness horror. We're following characters who are on some kind of a mountain climbing expedition, and bad things happen to them. I got Rainbow Black by Maggie Thrash. This was a blind date with a book, and I'm super happy that it was a book that I didn't have and that I was kind of interested in. That's always like such a scary thing to do, is to buy a blind date with a book, because sometimes you don't know. Like, there's another bookstore where I'm always nervous, and I don't usually get the blind date book there because their synopsis that they put on the cover is so unhinged, and like, what even are you talking about? Like, I could never guess. But this one had a pretty like specific like bullet points explaining what it was, and they were all things that I was interested in. Satanic panic, 90s nostalgia, set in New Hampshire. So like, I was interested. I have Emily Wilde's Encyclopedia of Fairies, a novel by Heather Fawcett. I've been wanting very much so to read this book because I've read several of Heather Fawcett's middle grade titles and really enjoyed them. And I was just like, you know, I should branch out and I should read something she's written for adults and see if I like it as much. Her writing is very whimsical and beautiful. And so I'm hoping that carries over into this. I don't even know what this is, honestly. I know it has to do with a woman who is like researching fairies, I think. And like, she's out in the field doing research, and I think there's like a romantic element. I'm not even sure, but it sounds interesting. I bought Squad. This is by Maggie Tokuda Hall and Lisa Sturl, and this is a graphic novel about a girl befriending a new friend group only to find out that they're werewolves. And I guess the plot feels like similar in tone to The Lost Boys, where it's like, instead of vampires, they're werewolves, and she's gonna like have to make a choice and that kind of thing. Which sounds great. I've been wanting to read this for ages. I bought the newest from Darcy Little Badger, which I don't know how to pronounce, and I really hope I can figure this out sooner than later, because I feel like I've said it wrong 10 times. This is Shine Lundy, I think, and it is a prequel to Alatsaway. So I don't really know specifically what this is about, besides that it is something to do with Alatsaway, and I think we're following another like ghost dog story, I think. I don't know, but I was just really interested because I loved Alatsaway when I read it, and I've been wanting to read something else by Darcy Little Badger. I bought A Council of Dolls by Mona Susan Power, and this is historical fiction about a family, I believe, of Dakota women and their experiences in different time periods with Indian boarding schools. So I think it says we have 3 characters we're following: Sissy, born in 1961, Lillian, born in 1925, and Cora, born in 1888. And so we're following these like 3 women in the same family, I believe, and like how they were affected by colonization. This came out last year and it's been on my radar and I just really wanted it. So I bought a copy on Independent Bookstore Day. And then my like most what even is this book that I purchased. I bought The History of Sketch Comedy by Keegan-Michael Key and L. Key. And I mean, it's a signed copy and it's about sketch comedy and it's written by Keegan-Michael Key, so I needed it. Like, I love sketch comedy. I grew up watching SNL and In Living Color, and I love Keegan-Michael Key, and I just, you know, it screamed at me on the bookshelf. Like, it literally jumped into my hands and told me to bring it home, so I did. Monty Python and all kinds of stuff in here. So it says it's part memoir, part masterclass, hilariously embellished with priceless commentary. The history of sketch comedy highlights the essential building blocks of sketch comedy while interweaving Keegan's personal career journey and the influence of his comedy heroes. So it just sounds delightful, and I'm excited to have it. I've got like a monster pile over here on the floor. I'm scared. And then I got 3 free books because I spent too much money and they were like handing me free things at checkout. I don't even know what these are. I have Infectious Generosity, The Ultimate Idea Worth Spreading by Chris Anderson. It's nonfiction. I don't know what it is beyond that. Mother Love, Stories by Jean Traunstein, which is a collection of stories written by mothers whose children have committed murder. And then an ARC for a book I do not know anything about. It's called Praiseworthy by Alexis Wright. I need to look it up. I have not yet, but it is a chunky book. All I can tell you is it says it is an epic story about a family living in Australia, something to do with their Aboriginal Chinese family history, being repatriated to China possibly. I don't even know. It's like a saga. And it sounds interesting enough, but I want to look it up and find out what that is specifically. Then I bought Fantastic Land. This is by Mike Bakoven, and this I picked up because it's a horror survival story about people trapped in an amusement park during some kind of like storm, I think. I'm not even sure what's happening here. Yeah. A hurricane is ravaging the Florida coast, and they're all trapped in like this Disney World type amusement park. And it's what happens while they're trapped. It sounds fun. I love amusement parks. I feel like this would be great. I don't know. And then I have the March and April Nightworm packs. So in March, I don't know if I kept... Did I? Yes. Good job, me. In March, it was Blood Oath was the theme. So this was the bookmark we received, Blood Oath. And the books were both things on my radar, so that was very exciting when that happened. Sometimes it's books I've never heard of, and I don't know what I'm getting. These are both books that I have heard of and was interested in reading. This one is The Haunting of Velkwood by Gwendolyn Keast, who is an author I've been really wanting to read. This is like a suburban ghost story about a small town that trapped 3 young women who must confront the past if they're going to have a future. So that sounds good. And then Forgotten Sisters by Cynthia Paleo. Okay, I'm just going to read you the synopsis because I have no idea how to describe this book. It says, sisters Anna and Jenny live in a historic bungalow on the Chicago River. They're tethered to a disquieting past, and with nowhere else to go, nothing can part them from their family home. Not the maddening creaks and disembodied voices that rattle the old walls. Not the inexplicable drownings in the area, or the increasing number of bodies that float by Anna's window. Like, I feel like this is like a haunted house story, but also like a haunted family story. So, very excited for that. And then... I don't know if I saved the bookmark. I have no idea. No, I didn't. I don't know where the bookmark went for the April, but the books both are like gothic sort of stories. So I have Thirst, a novel by Marina Newscook, I think. I don't know. And it's translated by Heather Cleary. This is a vampire story Sarah already stole this from my stack and read it, and she liked it, I think. This is literally just some kind of like a vampire, like gothic story. It's set in Latin America. Just says it's a feminist gothic. And then this one, I am obsessed with this book cover. A Botanical Daughter. This is by Noah Medlock, and like seriously, look how stunning this is. It's gorgeous. This is a story about like living in a botanical garden. Says Simon and Gregor are an unusual pair of gentlemen, hidden away from the disapproving tattle of Victorian London. They're free to follow their own interests without interference. For Simon, this means working his taxidermical art. Gregor's business is exotic plants, lucrative but harmless enough, until his latest acquisition, a strange fungus, which shows signs of intellect beyond any plant he's seen, and inspires him to attempt a masterwork, true intelligent life from plant matter. So it sounds like a Frankenstein story, but with like fungus, which sounds amazing. And it's Victorian London, like Victorian London, creepy fungus, and Frankenstein. Like, yes, please. This sounds fantastic, and I really want to read it. Like I said, I bought too many things. I ended up with something like 42 books purchased in those 2 months, which is excessive, but it was my birthday month, and it was Independent Bookstore Day. So, like, what do you want from me? I'm very happy with my purchases, but I am very stressed out about putting them away right now. So, I hope you enjoyed this video. Let me know if there's anything that I've talked about today that you think I should prioritize. Have you read any of the books I've talked about? What are your thoughts? Did you get anything exciting for yourself the last 2 months? I'd love to hear about it. Let's chat. Thanks so much for watching, and I will see you guys next time. Happy reading. Bye.